And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us. And one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it. And that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to another new episode of Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon Wright. Tonight's episode, we're going to be joined by my guest, Nancy Thames. Nancy reached out to me a while back. She's had some experiences involving possible interdimensionals and extraterrestrials. She has a different outlook on it than a lot of other people have had these experiences. So I definitely wanted to have Nancy on here to talk a little bit about what she's experienced. But before we bring her on, if you would like to be a guest on Tinfoil Tales, there's 2 things you can do. You can either send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to tinfoiltales.com and go to the contact section. Both ways works with getting your message to me. So make sure just to reach out and we'll get something scheduled for a future episode. I did receive an email here recently. A listener named Rebecca had reached out to me with some advice about using some black obsidian to try and help out with some of the negative energies that could be around here. So I'm definitely looking into that. Give a shout out to her for reaching out with some friendly advice. For anyone out there that wants to reach out to me, again, the email or the contact section is the best way to do that. Even if you don't want to be a guest on the show, but you want to talk about a little bit of what's going on in your life or have some thoughts or just need someone to talk to, again, you can always reach out to me. But back to the podcasting side of this. If you would like to help the podcast out, please continue to share it around. Word of mouth is one of the best ways of helping the podcast continue to grow. For everyone that's out there doing that, just know that I truly appreciate you guys. The podcast wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for you out there sharing around and doing all the legwork. You can also help out by leaving a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to Tinfoil Tales at. If you want to help the podcast, you can go and join the Patreon. There are 2 different tiers. There's the free tier, and there is the paid tier, which you get 100% access to everything on the Patreon. Some of that, which includes ad-free content, early access to all of the episodes right after they're recorded. I get them put together. They'll be up on the Patreon. Free members and paid members also get access to Crinkled Conspiracies, the podcast that I host with my friend Ed Corella. So if you remember Ed from a couple episodes, this is the podcast we do exclusively on Patreon. The paid tier is only $1.99 a month, so it's less than $2. So if you want to help me out, that's one of the best ways to do it. There is a merch store now, which you can find links to that in the show notes. If you want to wear some Tinfoil Tales gear, like shirts or rock a sticker or a hat, just make sure to check out the merch store. This fall, I'll be appearing at several different events. Starting in September, I'll be at Bigfoots and Brews and Spirits 2 up in Sister Lakes Brewing Company in Dowagiac, Michigan on September 14th. I'll also be at the first annual Indiana Bigfoot Conference in Nashville, Indiana on September 27th and 28th. Both of those require tickets. You can find links to the tickets in the show notes. On October 19th, I'll be at ParaUnity 6 here in my home area of Miami County. That'll be at the Miami County 4-H Fairgrounds. That is free to the public. All ages are welcome. And then on October 26th, I'll be in Crawfordsville, Indiana for the first annual Crawfordsville Paranormal Convention. That is also free to the public. The 2 events in October I'll also be guest speaking at. So if you want to come out and listen to me talk for a little bit, you can make sure to stop in. All the events, I'll have a vendor booth set up, though, and I'll also have my recording rig, so if you want to talk to me there, you want to tell me some of your experiences or whatever, we can do that. Just stop by the booth. We'll sit down, talk about it. But I think now we're going to go ahead and bring Nancy on. Looking forward to see what she's got to say. Hope you guys enjoy the conversation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'd like to take this time to welcome my guest tonight, Nancy Thames. Thanks for coming on here and talking to me.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Hope you're
Yeah.
doing well.
I am doing well. Hope you are too.
Yeah.
You reached out to me a while back. You mentioned some stuff that piqued my interest. So if you want to let the audience know a little bit about yourself and what it is you're going to talk about, you can go ahead.
Okay. My name is Nancy Thames. I am a lifelong contactee with positive extraterrestrials and interdimensional extraterrestrial beings. And this started, my first conscious memories of all this started that I remember was around 2 to 3 years old. And so this has been happening to me all my life. And throughout the years, most of my life, I didn't understand. I knew it was happening, but I didn't understand why. I didn't understand the purpose. So I grew up in a period of time where you couldn't really talk about these things. And I was told by my family not to talk about these things. I was very active in school, very active in sports, very active in Girl Scouts and all kinds of activities. And basically, I was told that you cannot talk about these type of things to anyone else. And I think my parents just kind of thought that I had a very vivid imagination. They just kind of knocked it off like, well, it's kind of like some people consider their child having an imaginary friend or something. Only my situation was a bit different than that, but I think they thought that it was very vivid dreams. So basically what would happen is they would come, always there would be 3, and it would be 3 grays that would come to get me all my life up until presently. There's the same 3. One in particular is a female gray, and I am bonded with her. And I know now, I didn't know all my life, but I know now that she is a hybrid that was designed by the interdimensionals and the tall grays. And they designed her to come and get contactees. Interdimensionals and extraterrestrials have a problem with the density on Earth, and they don't really like it. It's uncomfortable for them. So they created this hybrid, and it's created in their DNA so they can withstand our density and come back and forth. So basically, that's really all she does, is come and get me situated. A lot of times what they would do when I was young, they would take a hand scanner and not touch me with it, but take it and go from head to toe to head, up and down. And I would be laying on the bed, and all of a sudden I would notice that my body would start to float up. And I never understood why or, what exactly was going on. But when this would happen, even though I was purposely keeping my eyes closed to avoid looking at them, I would look down and see that I was physically floating off the bed, and my body I was raising upwards. And this was physically happening to me. It was not a dream. It was not an out-of-body experience. It was a physical thing. So this continued all my life. And it wasn't until I got older. And as I got older, visitations continued. And of course, as I got older, I wanted to know, demanded to know more reasons why it was happening to me. And I also figured out in my 20s that this was not just happening to me, it was happening to my 2 youngest sons. And that really disturbed me when I realized that. I just did not understand it all. And so I started demanding some information, and they told me what they felt I could handle at the time. They did not tell me everything, but basically what they told me was that I had made a decision before being born as a human being to be here at this particular time for humanity to help assist human beings into understanding we are not alone in the universe, and understanding that we are finally reaching higher consciousness, and they can finally have a face-to-face contact with us overall, and we will understand that they are not gods and they are not angels. And basically, all my life, they were just getting me prepared and letting me adjust and age and live my human experience and get used to all this to do what I'm doing now, and that is to help humanity.
How long have you been doing this for then?
Well, I'm 63 and it's up till right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do know that they did explain to me that when they were coming to get me when I was little, when I would be under the sheets, basically, I knew that they were coming. I could feel it. I have the ability to feel their frequency, and I know just before they come. So if I'm a little fearful, I'll keep my eyes closed, or they actually may have told me to do that just to make things quicker and easier for me. But they explained to me that we live in a 3D world. So what they were doing was that scanner thing going up and down and that vibrational frequency. It was that they were changing my frequency to match their frequency. Therefore, I could travel up through the roof or through a window or a door, which humans aren't able to do in our 3D world. So they were changing my frequency to match theirs, and then I would travel with them. Yeah. And once the Greys got me on craft, I don't even see them anymore. When I'm on craft, I see the interdimensional beings, which are about 7 to 8 foot tall. They have human-like features, but they're more whitish looking, and they're, very tall. And they're definitely not human, but they have human-like characteristics. And then I see a lot of tall Greys, some aquatic beings. Every once in a while, I'll see reptilians. I see Nordics or Palladians. I'm not quite sure. They're both look a lot alike to me, to be honest with you. So it's kind of hard for me to tell. But so basically, once I'm there, then they'll take me through I go before a group of peers who I'm sure are evaluating me to see what my evolutionary stage is, what my spiritual growth is, how I'm handling the balance between my human experience and also having this extraterrestrial experience. And then when that is over with, then it is the 3 Greys that will bring me back home. So it's an interesting process, and I've not always liked it, to be honest with you. There was many long periods of time that I did not understand, and it wasn't until about 2 years ago. I think they sensed my frustration, and they gave me a Kundalini awakening. And when that happened, I was asleep in the bed, and my body jerked forward, and I raised my head up and sitting upright in the bed. And then I had like these surges come in and started through my head and went all the way down to the trunk of my body, and then went back up. And then I would go back down. And this happened like 3 times. And when it was happening, I had no clue what it was going on. It scared me. I was very confused about it. But later they explained to me that they were opening my subconscious up into my human consciousness so that I could remember my past life memories, and so that I could remember who I am and what the reason why I came here into work towards my mission.
You mentioned your sons are experienced. Do they still have the same experiences that you've had?
Oh yeah, they do. They're one has exactly what I have. The youngest one is just at his beginning stages. This is not something that you get used to overnight. This is not something that you understand overnight. It's not like anything we experience here on Earth, and it goes against everything that we have been programmed to think. Our physics does not apply. There's so many things that don't apply, and it's a big thing to understand and swallow, and realize that what sometimes seems to be, there was like when they came to get my two sons, rather than me understanding at that time, at my age, that they could have done that without me even knowing, but they allowed me to see it. I understand now that I'm older, everything was done for a reason and for a purpose. So that's why I think a lot of people that have had interactions misunderstand what is going on, because it's not something that we normally, would understand. It's very confusing, and it's easy to let the fear get the best of you. And I even sometimes now still have to deal with the fear. I feel it sometimes, and I have to remind myself, you've done this before. Just go with it. There's nothing to be scared of. It's just different,
If you think about it in the sense of what we do here on Earth with other species, like if we tag things, we get them, we bring them in, we study them, and then we release them.
Mm-hmm.
We do the same exact thing. We're not thinking about how the animal feels about it, how the animal copes with it. They're basically doing the same thing to us that we do to everything else.
So basically, they're giving us exams. They're checking our evolutionary stage, because this is what they've been waiting on is for humanity. And everywhere you look now, you'll see where everybody's talking about frequency, higher vibrations, frequency. They're talking about consciousness. And that is because humanity is waking up. We are not completely there yet, but we are moving from 3D dimension into the fourth, or onto fifth, at least into the fourth. And it is happening now. So when that started happening, that is what brought down the interdimensional, and the positive extraterrestrials started coming around us and surrounding our planet in big motherships. And there had been a rogue race of grays that had done some trading technology for, they were doing genetic experiments and things of this nature with the government. These were not a group of extraterrestrials that had humanity's best interest in mind. They were specifically here on their own agenda, and they did not care what human beings thought. They didn't care if we didn't understand what the purpose of things were. So these are different beings that are here now. And when we started reaching higher consciousness, they told this lower race of extraterrestrials to leave humanity alone. So all that, I want to say, happened around in 2020, when they kind of said, back off, things are changing on planet Earth. For one, our planet is going through an ascension herself. And from what they've taught me, our planet is a living conscious being. Everything, our plants, our trees, our water, our air, everything is living conscious beings. Even the planets in the universe are living conscious beings. And everything is connected. We are all one, and we're all connected. So whatever we do, not only it playing with technology, nuclear weapons and this kind of stuff, not only could wipe us out, but it disrupts the balance of nature, disrupts the balance of Mother Earth. It also ripples out into space throughout the universe and affects everything. So you kind of heard the saying, as above, so below, or however that goes.
Yeah.
And this is what is true. We are all connected. We just have lost our connections that I think a long, long time ago, many of us knew our connections with plants, knew our connections with the earth. And we've lost that because we've been programmed to be materialistic and a slave to working, and working 9 to 5. And we have forgotten a lot of ways that values that we knew, but we are going to reawaken and realize that these old ways of living no longer serve us. And with our higher consciousness, we're going to expect better things and ask that things change. And it's not something that will happen overnight, but it's starting to happen. I can see it happening already. People are waking up.
Now, when someone you feel like is waking up, how do they know that they are? How can someone know that they're able to do this or awakened?
Well, first of all, people ask me, how do you know if you've reached the fourth or fifth dimension? Dimensions are not physical places. They are higher consciousness. So when you start realizing and start questioning or looking for answers to things, your mind is already opening up and wanting more information, and you're starting to seek out good information. And you'll start to realize that you do not like listening to the news because it's all negative. Okay. You do not like being around negative people. You'll find that you'll walk away from these things. They will no longer serve you or interest you. You will find that you are disinterested in wars. You will find that you're disinterested in, but you'll want to spend more time with family values, things that pertain to your family. You'll start sensing, you'll start to want to know who the inner you is, your inner self you, not the person, for me, not the Nancy that the world around me has programmed me to be, but the Nancy, the soul Nancy that made a choice to come to earth. Who am I? Who is Nancy? What is the purpose of Nancy being here? And as we all reach higher consciousness, we will start to realize our inner selves, look within, and start understanding that, for one, we will understand that we don't need the government to give us disclosure. We will understand we are the disclosure, because we will reach higher consciousness and not need someone to tell us, because we'll be intelligent enough to realize, and all the answers will be before us. And you will know, because you'll start noticing that you will vibrate on a higher frequency. When you vibrate at a higher frequency, it feels good and it radiates around you. And you'll notice that your family will pick up and start to do the same thing. And it's kind of just like a cold. It's like a virus. It spreads. So being positive and having a high frequency is very contagious, and it feels wonderful, and it multiplies and spreads. And that's what's going to happen to humanity, not overnight, but with time. It's just gradual awareness, gradual knowledge. And then, answers start to be answered. And then you realize that we've been manipulated for all our lives. The minute we were born, we were given a social security number, and you're like, ding, ding, ding. This isn't right. And all the things start popping up. And these things we already know, but we've had to wait to get to a higher consciousness. And here's what's so funny about this is that all of these plants and things, all the creatures, and even our planet, they have already known all these things. And all of it has just been waiting for us to wake up, because we are now finding out through scientists and the visions that I was shown, my son and I both were shown, or that trees are living conscious beings. They communicate. Just because we live in a 3D world does not mean that things around us are not alive or living and conscious and communicating. It just means that in our 3D world, we're unable to hear or see it. But as we reach higher levels of consciousness, our awareness opens, and we will start to pick up on these things. So it's a lot of stuff, but it's a beautiful thing. It really is. But I truly believe that all of us made a decision to be here on Earth at this time. And I truly believe that all of us especially the ones of us that are doing podcasts like this, we are on a mission to wake the world up and to put truthful, positive information out there, because we have been lied to for so long. We need to know the truth. We need to know our true heritage. We need to know the true history of our planet. We need to know all kinds of things that we have been lied to about. And I think a lot of those answers are going to be answered.
Who are the ones that are doing the lying, though? Like, I know the theory is it's the lower frequency beings, the ones that feed off of the low energy, like the low negativity. Like,
Yeah.
where are they from? Like, what exactly is going on? Why are they keeping us in this slave state, basically?
Well, there are fractions of humans. There are fractions, a lower realm of extraterrestrials, and these extraterrestrials are not demonic and they are not warlike, but they really do not want humanity to achieve higher consciousness. So they have worked with the black hats, the elites, and the Illuminati, cabal, all these different fractions. And most of it is done because it is a group of really rich people that have had a monopoly on all these, say, our corporations and our banking system, our religious system, our pharmaceutical companies, our oil companies. So they have been sitting on technology for eons. We should have no property. We should have no diseases. We should not be using fossil fuels. We should have free energy. But these people cannot make money off of healthy, intelligent people. So they have purposely kept us dumbed down at a lower consciousness to maintain and control us and manipulate us around like puppets. And basically, we have been a slave to a system that we didn't even realize that we were enslaved to. But as we wake up, we will realize our air, our water, our food, everything has toxins in it. Our things that we see on television are negative. All these things are done intentionally to keep human beings separated, to keep us apart. Racism was thrown in there to keep humanity separated. Different religions to keep us separated. So all these things, and this has been going on for a very, very long time, because once we reach higher consciousness and we realize that we are all one and we are all connected. And once we're all connected, there is no stopping humanity. And another beautiful thing about this is that the lower realm of extraterrestrials, when they chose to run off and be a rogue group and not part of the collective consciousness of the positive and the interdimensionals, they were no longer part of the collective. So they're on their own. So they will not receive help or technology from the interdimensionals. So they will never travel interdimensionally. They're kind of locked into this realm. But we, on the other hand, human beings, we have the potential to become interdimensional and travel throughout the universes and become a cosmic citizen. And we will be very welcomed. And we also have a lot of things in our DNA that have been purposely dumbed down. For example, our pineal gland is crystallized. And they have done that to us for a very long time. And if you remember back in the old days, people that had this slight bit of, they were either psychic or they were intuitive. They were considered as demonic, and they would hang them or put them on trial because they've always wanted to keep humans dumbed down. So But we are finally to the point where we're realizing that these things have manipulated us, and we're not going to allow that anymore. And these things in our body will start to activate, and we will learn we can live longer lives. We can live healthier lives. And what I was told by the interdimensionals is that when we were created, everything we ever needed to sustain our lives was placed here on earth. And what that means is that there's a cure for any disease a human ever gets. We were never meant to have these synthetic drugs. Our bodies, those are not for us. What we need is here on our planet, and they're either sitting on the technology. Well, I know that they're sitting on the technology. I could say that maybe they didn't find it, but I'm pretty darn sure they're sitting on the technology. They have cures for cancer. They have cures for everything, most likely. But you have to understand, the people that are in charge, they don't want human beings to live longer lives. That means more money for governments. That means they would like to keep us unhealthy and dying out, because the longer we live, they're going to have to change their whole system of the way they've got it kind of like running in a little cycle now, but we will start living longer lives and healthier lives. So it's going to be interesting. And we should all be proud to be alive, because this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to human beings that has ever happened, and we're part of it.
I'm getting a little confused with the interdimensionals and the extraterrestrials.
Okay.
Like, with extraterrestrials, obviously they're not from here, but interdimensional, when you talk with other people, interdimensional just means they're from a different reality, like a different dimension into our worlds is like a different, like they're on level 4, we're on level 3, the 3D world. So how does that work for them to be able to travel through space if they're somehow...
Dimensions are not physical places.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
They're frequencies, okay? Mm-hmm. Higher frequencies. So in the world of extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, there is no such thing as time. Everything is happening all at once. So, and if you look at it like, you could say, for example, there could be extraterrestrials parked right here. The whole craft and everything could park right here in my living room. If they wanted me to see it, I would. But with us being in 3D, I would not see it unless they wanted me to. So they're not from physical places. So they're just different dimensions, different frequencies. And as we reach higher frequencies, we will be less limited as to what we can see. But that doesn't mean that they're not from originally a planet. It just may not be a planet in our solar system.
Yeah, because it gets confusing when people talk about space and traveling through space, and they talk about interdimensional. It's like, well, if they're extraterrestrials and they're not from, obviously, the solar system, they're from a different galaxy. Those are trillions of miles away. There's all these different galaxies, and they're traveling because...
Yes. Well, there's many galaxies, many universes.
Mm-hmm.
And they travel all over looking for beings that are reaching ascension. And then that's when they step in and help them to ascend. They are 1 billion years ahead of us in evolution, and they don't want to take over. They don't want to do anything. All they want to do is assist and help us to reach that higher level.
That's where it comes back to them with the ones trying to keep us back from reaching that is, how do they know about it? You know what I mean? Like, why are they trying to keep us down? Who told
they know
them
what
about
our frequency? Yeah, they know what our frequency is. And as long as we were at a lower frequency, we were taken advantage of. And they were not supposed to do that. The cosmic law says that human beings are here on free will, and they overstep this race or any race that did the so-called abductions. They overstep that boundary of humans being here on free will. And a lot of people ask me, why don't they, if they can do this, they can do that, why don't they come down here and cure diseases and things? Well, human beings are here on free will. And people do not totally understand this, but all of us have soul contracts that we made before we got here. So they cannot overstep a boundary. If your soul contract that you made with Creator, which, by the way, they do believe in a Creator source, and they all have souls. So if whatever we agreed upon, say we decide how long we're going to be here, we decide certain things about our life, they cannot interfere with those things. And well, go ahead.
So you mentioned they have souls and everything.
Yes.
It really depends on who you talk to, because a lot of people think these aliens are demonics, and I don't know.
Well, they've never met one. I have. I've been with them face to face, held hands, rubbed their face. They rubbed mine, and I've touched them. They feel like a dolphin, and they are biological, and they are very loving, very benevolent, very loving. And for me, it's not what they look like. For me, it is the frequency exchange. They are higher frequency than I am. So when I feel their presence, my body, I can feel it all over, and it's overwhelming, warming, loving, kind of, I don't even know how to explain it really. It's almost euphoric feeling, but I don't know how to explain it, but it's a different frequency than what we ever have felt before. You don't feel like this. So for me, it's kind of like you have that flight or fight type feeling, because your brain doesn't know what to do with this, because it's never felt that before. So it's like it's been embedded in our DNA from prehistoric times, when everything around us was a predator. So when something new comes around and we don't understand, it's, you get extremely scared, and you either want to fight or you want to run, basically.
Yeah. You're the first person that I've interviewed that's actually had like positive experiences with aliens. Basically, everyone I've talked to has had like traumatic events because of the abductions and everything.
Well, I believe that those things happen. I also believe that some of those were instigated even by military, along with some extraterrestrials. And when I was living in Australia, I was living up in the mountains, a pretty isolated area, and I felt some beings coming, but these were not the three that normally come for me. And they got me and took me to craft. And when I woke up, I was on a gurney, and there were female humans running around, and there were grays running around, and they were very confused, acting very confused. And what it was is they were like saying, "Send her back, take her back," because they realized that I belong to the interdimensionals, and they better not touch me. So they sent me back. And then I woke up, and I was just like really confused as to, I remembered it, but it was like, what in the world? So I was close to Pine Gap, but not walking distance, but by air. And I being on a mountain, I lived up on Mount Mee, which was in Queensland, which is about 2.5 hours from Brisbane. And they could have easily got to me by craft or even a helicopter or whatever. I don't really know. I don't remember seeing any craft. I just remember it happening and them waking up in a craft.
You mentioned earlier that you think some of them were working with the military.
Absolutely.
Which ones would be?
I
Let's-
know that, okay, I want to clear this up. There are many, many different races of grays. There's over 60 different races or more, okay? They are different colors, they are different heights, and some have a little different looks in their facial features. So one race out of all these, say 63 races, were the ones that decided to go off on their own and do their own genetic testing and became a renegade race and left the collective consciousness of the rest of all the grays. Then there was like other races, like there were some Nordics, there were some reptilians, and with them, there's many, many different races. There's not just one race of each group. There's many, many different ones. And there are, some of them are on the side that doesn't, they're not demonic, but they don't really want to see humans prosper for whatever reason. So, but they are very few in number, but they are the ones that did some work with the government. I've heard different stories like, Dulce bases and all these different things. And those would be the ones that did those kind of things. And they traded out technology for getting to do what they did, but humanity never got to see any of the technology except for whatever they used as far as like in wars.
We can't be the only species that they would do this to, because if you look at it in that consciousness of they're just doing to try to keep humanity down, what's special about humanity? That's our own ego thinking that we're special in a sense.
There's nothing special about us. I'll tell you what's special about our planet is our planet itself, our planet and everything on our planet. They love our planet because it is a living, conscious being, and they love the air, the animals, the jungles, the indigenous people, the mammals, the aquatic life. They love everything, and they played a part in the creation of it. So that's the thing, when we start messing with these things that are innocent bystanders and could stand to be eliminated because of our human egos and because of a few humans that want to play dictator, they're not going to let us destroy our world and our planet, because our planet is beautiful and our planet is part of the universe, and we're all connected. Everything. Our moon is connected to our planet. They destroy our planet, there's no telling what all is going to ripple out from it. If we were completely destroyed, I can't even imagine what all it would affect. It would affect the whole universe, and they're not going to let that happen.
I think we do a pretty good job here of
I think they pretty much let
making sure we destroy ourselves.
Yeah, but they've let the governments and the military know. They've come down here and turned off nuclear power plants, and they have stopped nuclear weapons. They stopped one that I don't know if you remember, but in Korea, North Korea shot off one years ago, and they said it was, oops, we made a mistake. But actually what happened is the extraterrestrials destroyed it in midair.
I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah. And also, if you look, I've seen a lot of videos over in the war, Israel and Iran and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I see them interacting and shooting missiles down over there too. If you look, you can find it.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird stuff that's going on right now that I try not to even pay attention to, really, because I think it's all a distraction.
Well, the thing is, with the AI technology the way it is, we all have to be careful about what we believe, because, and that's the thing with our technology has gotten so big. Our banking systems are breaking down. Our political our groups are breaking down. Our religious groups are breaking down. We have surpassed what our technology can do. So we've got to change. Our planet and our world is changing, and we've got to learn to change with it. And as we reach higher consciousness, all we have to do is allow them to help us and accept the fact we are not alone, and accept some help. And they'll help us to make the right decisions with our technology, because they explained to me that AI technology is a man-made tool. We have to keep it as a man-made tool. Do not turn it loose with certain individuals, and do not turn it loose to just run on its own. We created it. We need to stay in power over it. And if we use it right, we can use it to better all of humanity, not just a few. And that's the problem, is that we've been so manipulated and conned, we don't even realize that these things, we only do what we're told to do. We don't even know what all they're sitting on and what they're privy to, and they're getting cures for, and they're able to live longer, and the rest of us are suffering.
I think the AI is already spread so far that it's hard to ring it back in at this point, because if you just look at what you're capable of doing, like it makes music now, it puts singing into the music, it makes photos, it does videos, like it's so much manipulation that you don't even know what you're seeing anymore or what you're listening to. It's I think it's gotten to the point to where it's going to be hard to actually put it back in the bag at this point if they try to.
Oh, I don't think it's going to go back in the bag. I think that as we reach higher consciousness, we're going to realize we made this. We are in control, and we're going to stay in control, and we're going to use it to our advantage. And you have to understand, a lot of the information that we get about extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, AI, these are all misinformation and purposely done to keep us in fear, keep us separated, because anybody that's in fear, they lose their connection to the rest of the world. Everybody's kind of on their own and on guard. So that is done intentionally. And so until we wake up and realize that we're being manipulated, which we will, but when we do, a lot of things are going to change, and you're going to see our lives will be better. And basically, we're the stepping stones for future generations. You know, I don't know how long this all will take, but I know that it has to start somewhere, and it needs to start now. It doesn't need to be put off, because things are not going to get better at this point. At this point, if it stays escalating like it is, we will wipe ourselves out. So we have to start somewhere.
By starting something like this and trying to project it and go further out, I can see like the average person seeing this as like a religion. Because if you already look at religions, what we have, they're just going to say, oh, these are the UFO people, these are the UFOlogy people, these are alien people, this is a religion, they'll believe these people. Like, that's how society's programmed to be.
Yeah.
They're not going to take it seriously, because just as, like, if you look at religions today, a lot of people don't take religions as seriously as they used to. Like, obviously, older generations do, but like people my age and younger, they're not into the religious type aspects anymore.
I consider myself a spiritual person, not a religious person.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference. But trying to explain that to my 80-year-old mother, that's very hard to do. Yeah.
No, I come from a very Christian family. So again, speaking of stuff like that is very out there for a lot of them, because they believe in their certain things that they believe.
Yeah.
And when you talk about stuff like this, like growing up, I was told there's no such thing as aliens. There's no such thing as ghosts, anything like that. They're demons. That's what's programmed into your brain, because that's what religion tells you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of programming. But I think younger generations are going to be more aware of the world around us, and there will be less programming. You know, I don't know how, if you have children or whatever, but, you know, your eyes are more open, and I'm sure you'll want your kids to form their own opinions about things, because our world is changing. Things aren't like they used to be 20, 30 years ago. Our world is changing, and it's changing very fast.
Yeah. Just even within the last 5 to 10 years, it's a lot different than what it used to be.
Yeah.
But I'd say you mentioned 2020. I feel like 2020 is a turning point for a lot of things, and I don't necessarily know if it's the good or the bad side of it, but 2020 was like the year of the beast is what I
COVID.
call it.
Yeah, it was COVID and all that. Yeah. Well, as I've reached higher levels of consciousness and things, I've realized that everything that we've been through was done to teach us something. Being here on Earth is an experience. We're here to learn. And for whatever reason, we had to learn. I didn't like being in quarantine at all. And I don't know if anything good became of it at all, but I don't know. But I know that we have to learn to forgive certain things and move on and learn from our mistakes and learn from the past and just learn not to make the same ones again. And that's been the problem, is that for our governments and things, we continuously continue to have wars and things, but we have to reach a point to where we realize there's nothing good about a war, and it doesn't serve us in any good way at all.
It serves their purpose to keep us all divided and angry and scared and everything else, is what I said. I don't want to be that person, but basically they that's what they want. Like, they want to keep everyone against each other. They want to find reasons for people to not get along. They want to find people to have negativity. And that's what I've been saying forever, is basically everyone's, well, who's they? Who's the elusive they? Well, the people that are the puppet masters, the ones that pull the strings.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And
I don't know their official names. Like, I can't go out there and say who it is.
Well, and really and truly, we don't know who's really running our government. It's not the officials that are in there. They're being played like puppets, Yeah. So there's definitely a part of government we don't know,
Mm-hmm.
So
anyone that you see on the television, their presidents, they're not the real shot callers. I mean, they're just the face that gets put out there for everyone else to see. They're the puppet, but there's always someone pulling the strings of the puppet.
That's true. Yeah. And
I wish a lot of people would see it that way, but no one wants to. They always want to fight about which side they want to be on.
If you remember, wasn't it Eisenhower was the first president to talk about a dark government and the military? There was like fractions of government and military that we all need to be careful, because I think he realized he had no control over, I think he started realizing there was like secret programs and things of that nature.
And he mentioned something about it, and then going down the rabbit hole of JFK, he supposedly was wanting to abolish certain alphabet agencies, and then he mysteriously was shot. So
yeah, that's a shame. So, and I think that's one reason why they don't really want to do disclosure. I think they would love for the James Webb Telescope to find something, because then that would take it off of their coattail, so to speak. If the James Webb found something, it would be billions of miles away. And, people would be comfortable with that, even my mother and daddy, in their 80s and stuff, they would, because it's not like it's right here. If they, to know that there's life, but it's so far away,
I still don't think they would believe it, though. I think a lot of people would say it's not true, because
that's possible. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't believe in NASA.
Yeah, so, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of one of the people that don't necessarily believe everything NASA says either, because again, I don't believe a lot of the stuff that comes out about what we've done and what they're doing. So
they're definitely not truthful about things. That's for sure.
No.
But, and they're funded by the government. So there you go.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't think the official stories that you hear are always the accurate ones.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to discuss, or you think you've kind of covered a lot of what you wanted to talk about?
Is there anything you want to ask me already?
I've kind of asked everything I kind of thought would popped in my head. Like, there's nothing really. It's You're the third or fourth person almost in a row that we've talked about this on my interviews. So
Okay.
I've kind of talked about this last night. I talked about it the other night. Like, for some reason, like all these interviews got lined up, and they're almost the same type of topics. So it's kind of I
Yeah,
don't
repetitious. Yeah.
I don't want to
But
say repetition, but it's almost like it's odd to me that they're all popped up in the same sequence, I guess. Like,
yeah,
but
I will say this also, that a lot of people that I know, Travis Walton, they made a movie about him, Fire in the Sky,
mhm.
and I've met him. And when they made that movie, he signed over rights to it, and they dramatized that and
Yeah.
made it very fearful because they wanted to sell box seats. And at the time, of course, he did not care, and he, had a hard time dealing with it. That part was true. But as he's gotten older, he will tell you that the extraterrestrials saved his life. They could have left him there in the middle of the woods and he would have died because he had radiation poisoning, but they saved his life, took him on craft, saved his life, and then dropped him back off. And they dropped him off in a public area where he could be found, not back in the woods where they picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's totally changed. Whitley Strieber, his movie Communion was pretty scary too. And again, that was to sell seats and stuff. And from what he says now, and it's funny as you mature and get older and you rethink things and you kind of like piece and patch things together. And that's what I've done, is, kind of understand it all, and it makes more sense. He doesn't see it as a horrible thing anymore either. So I don't know. So a lot of times I think when people talk about having a bad experience, yes, it was a bad experience to them, but a lot of it may have had to do with their state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And their perception of what was happening at the time, So
I've actually wanted to reach out to both of those. You mentioned I've been trying to figure out a way to reach out to Travis, and I know Whitley has his own website I was going to send a message to, but I never gotten around to doing it.
you should do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Fire in the Sky came out when I was a kid, and it didn't scare me, but it definitely put that fear into you because of the alien abductions or whatever. Like it almost, like you said, it's so dramatized that
Oh yeah.
it made it like a scary movie, especially when you're like, that came out in like 91. I was
The part
7 years old.
being on craft and waking up in that mesh like thing, and then they showing that thing coming down to your eye. I mean, all that stuff. Nothing like that happens, and there is no such thing as probing.
I didn't figure there was, in that sense of what people say. Anyone that says they've ever been an alien came in and they probed them or whatever, I've even made this reference before. I was like, I think if people really believe that, I think their brain is covering up something else traumatic that happened.
Oh yeah, it's a long way to travel. It's a very long ways to travel just to look up somebody's butt.
Yeah. I never understood. They're so far advanced, but they have to come here and do a rectal exam. Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, but I do know this, and I've experienced this. They actually, they can't overstep the boundary of humans being here on free will. But I know for a fact that if they can, they will help people, and they have cured things. And they've worked on my kidneys, several things that they've done on me throughout my life and stuff.
What about, not to interrupt, but like, what about the ones that say they've had their stolen babies from them, like hybrid babies, like they've been impregnated and they've taken the babies from them or whatever? That's been a big topic here lately. I've been hearing.
Yeah. I know that they truly believe that that's what happened to them. And I do know that it could be that all of that race, usually when there's each race has a specific function that they do. So in that case, I would say that every one of those Greys were genetic scientists. So their agenda was genetic research. So for what reason, I don't know, but I do know that they're not trying to repopulate their population. It's not because of that, because there's so many different races. People don't realize that there's not just one. So there's so much misinformation, but I do know this: if they did create a hybrid would never make it down here on Earth, never. And I could see where they would want it to have interactions with that mother periodically so that it could get that bonding feeling, because it would be that would be awful hard for a hybrid to have human, have extraterrestrial, because they don't have the emotions and stuff that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, whenever I would get upset or very, very anxiety or whatever, they would simply take their hand and touch my forehead and put me in a sedated type state. Without the sedation, they would just put me in a relaxed, calm, functional. I could walk and move and remember, but my memories, when I would come back, would be fragmented. It wouldn't be a full conscious memory. It was kind of like walking around like a zombie or something.
No.
Yeah. And they do that to a lot of people. And you've heard people talk about sleep paralysis. I've had them do that to me before too. So, and they have the reasons for that, because they're not going to sit there and fight with us, and humans will fight back.
No. If I ever woke up and is in the middle of something, I'm swinging on them. That's just how it's going to be.
Well, they probably won't let you move because they're telepathic. They already know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a dream a while back, and I made a reference. I was like, maybe it wasn't a dream, but they were taking my son. These were little strange-looking pink humanoid figures, and he was screaming, and I was after him, and I was punching, and I was kicking, and one of them had a light on the end of their, I don't know what it was, but it went up in my nostril. The next morning I woke up, and I had blood on my nostril.
Yeah.
I was like, was it a dream? Because it's an odd coincidence that I had crusty blood on my same nostril.
Yeah.
But
Gosh,
anything that's trying to
it
take
could
my
be.
anything that's trying to take my son, I don't care if it's for good or
Yeah.
what. I'm coming after my kid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I tell you, I think people should listen to what their children have to say, because a lot of people dismiss things like this, and you should at least listen, listen to what they say,
yeah,
it'd be very important.
yeah. I definitely try and listen to what my kids are telling me.
That's good.
Just because, not from what I do and what I talk to with other people, is maybe a lot more open-minded, because I've always been a skeptic up until years ago. And the more and more I do this show, the more and more I want to believe. So it's like I'm definitely trying to be more receptive to a lot of things. So some of the things that they talk about, it's a kid's imagination, and it might not always be. There might be more to it. So
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of crazy stuff out there, so you have to use discernment for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
But it's good to have an open mind and listen, and be aware that sometimes things happen to people that it's just hard to understand. It really is. Yeah.
yeah. No, I agree. Like I said, this whole show is just to give a platform for people with experiences to come on here and share their experiences. I'm not here to prove or disprove anyone, because I'm not there. I don't know what's going. You know what I mean? I can't say someone's wrong because I didn't witness it.
Yeah.
So, but I think we can probably wrap this one up. So I appreciate you coming on here and talking to me.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, do you have a place for them to reach out to you at?
Yes, I do. I have a website, timefordisclosure.com. And also my Facebook group is Time for Disclosure / We Have Never Been Alone / We Are the Disclosure. So, yeah. And I belong to a lot of Facebook groups, and they're all great. They're all, kind of work together, and we're all trying to work towards disclosure and getting the truth out there.
Okay. For anyone interested, I'll have that in the show notes for you. So all you got to do is click on it. It should take you right there.
Okay, sounds great. I appreciate that.
Yep, not a problem. Well, Nancy, I appreciate you coming on here and talking to me tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
You have a good night. And that's the show, everyone. I really hope you guys enjoyed the conversations. If you would like to be a guest on Tinfoil Tales, remember to send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com or go to the contact section of tinfoiltales.com. Just get your message to me. We'll get something scheduled for a future episode. And just remember, the truth lies in the stories we share, the connections we make. Stay curious, stay open-minded. Thank you all for joining us on this journey. And until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep exploring the unknown. Good night, everyone.
Tinfoil Tales in the headphones. Yeah, it's time to rock. Got a story about a cryptic creature. Let's take a walk. Bigfoot, dogman, they're out there in the dark. But the truth is out there like an alien spark. UFO sightings got the whole world shook. Conspiracies unfold like a story in a book. Media control, trying to keep us blind. Oh, before gonna use my own mind. In history, they don't want us to know the secrets they're hiding, the truth they won't show. Domain of society, they keep us in chains. But I'm standing tall, it's time to break the reins. Control, trying to keep us blind, but I won't be fooled, gonna use my own mind. In history